different, actually, so it doesn't really matter. But I was like, hey, sure you want me to find a priest to come? Because they've already heard a consecrated story. And he's like, whatever. So turned out that you just find a priest tonight. But you want to start with a prayer together? Okay. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this night. Thank you for the holy hour that some of us just had together in prayer. Thank you for the opportunity to gather together now. And we know and believe that when two or more of us are gathered in your name, you're here in our midst. And tonight we're hearing it. Tonight maybe we're here taking a leap of faith. Maybe we're here because of curiosity. Maybe we don't really know why we're here. Maybe we're here led by your grace and very happy to be here. Whatever brings us here, we would like to be in your presence, Lord. We want to be led by you and guided by you in this discernment night and our discussions. And we ask the Holy Spirit to guide each one of us, to guide the speaker, that I would know what to share with you, and to guide each one of you as you listen, that you would hear the Holy Spirit speaking to your hearts. Each one of the young people that are here tonight. So, Holy Spirit, we ask you to be present in a special way in our hearts. And we entrust this evening and our lives and our discernment to your mother, to Mary, who is the most faithful and gentle and determined guide of all vocational discernment. And we can pray together to her. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, my first thing that I have to tell you guys is, like, congratulations for being here, because I have to tell you that I never would have set foot in this room when I was your age. Like, never. If I knew that this was, like, talking about...
Wait,
he's gone. Because, like, I gotta figure out my sister, too. No. I never would have, had the courage to come into a place where people were actually talking about the B word, vocation. Like, that is so weird, So, in fact, it was funny. The other day, I was at our school over in Irving. We help with a Catholic school called the Highland School. And the third floor of the boys' building, so there's like a few different buildings, on the third floor, the priests used to live up there. Because originally that place was a convent. And then when we bought the school, then the priests, that was their home, because they needed to work up to have enough money to be able to live in a house. So they lived in the school, basically. So the kids had this running joke that, like, if you go up onto the third floor, if you get past that certain stair, you'll catch a vocation, And I remember being the same thing in where I'm from, in Michigan, where the consecrated women live. It was like, if you go upstairs to where they live, like, you're not coming back out of there without a vocation, So I remember, like, I grew up with that kind of sense of, like, I don't want it, I'm not interested. And that's a big part of the story that I want to share with you guys tonight. But because that's where I come from, I just want to tell you how much I admire you and appreciate you. And maybe you're just like, actually, I'm really scared. And that's totally fine. But sincerely, like, even at things like Youth 2000, I've been to Youth 2000 or to a Steubenville weekend, like different retreats and things where they have, like, the altar call or the time on the weekend where they're like, if anyone here is feeling called to the priesthood or to be religious, whatever, please come forward and we'll pray over you. And I'd be like, never, So we're all different, but that is a big part of my own path and my own journey. And now, in retrospect, I can see how much God used that, and how much He can work in spite of that, like, total obstinacy and being so stubborn, against that. But yeah, just you have all my respect for having the guts to come to something like this, because it's awesome. And in fact, that was one of the things that I was very afraid of, is like, well, if other people if I share my, the word I like to sometimes use is restlessness, like this, something in my heart that's just not settled about a vocation. If anybody else knows about that, then I'm accountable. Like, somebody's heard that about me, someone knows that about me, I've shared that about me, and then I have to do something about it. I can't just pretend like it's not there, because someone else knows, you know? So, that's the scared side, that's the fearful side of it. But what's the beautiful side is that you have all these friends who pray for you, who support you, who are just, you know, there for you and are praying that God will help you. So anyways, I don't want this to be like all like full on like, what are you gonna do with your life? But just to tell you like how much I respect and admire each one of you for being here tonight. So that being said, my story, gosh, it's always humbling to share your story of your life, because it's like, you know, talking about yourself for half an hour, and like if you're a good Catholic, you try to avoid that, right? Like talking about yourself all the time. But one of the consecrated women that I know once said something very wise. She said, every vocation story is really the story of God and His grace in a person's life, and so it's really talking about Him and giving Him the glory for everything. And I believe that now more than ever. So let's see, basics. I'm from Michigan. So you may hear occasional strange ways of pronouncing things for me, like mom and God and dad and things like that. We have a tendency to kind of exaggerate our vowels, and everybody picks on us and says we talk like we have our nasal sinuses plugged. But I love Michigan. That's where I'm from, and I think that probably after Texas, we have the second highest amount of pride for where you're from. I mean, we Michiganders, like if someone was like, so where are you from? I'm like, Michigan, because it's shaped like the mitten, you know. So it's typical that you show on the map where you're from. So I was born here, then my family moved here, then we moved here, and then we moved here, and now here it's like here. So and it's all quite accurate. If you go and look at the map, you see it's kind of shaped like a person's hand. So I'm from there. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. It went me and then 3 brothers. And it was like that for a really long time, until I was 15 years old. And so I was quite a tomboy growing up, because I didn't have any other girls to like do girl stuff with. I mean, I loved Barbies, and I would play with them by myself, because if my brothers tried to play with me, it was just not fun anymore. You know, like my brother would be like flying around like the little boy Barbie doll, and like flying and making noises and stuff. I'd be like, you can leave now.
We actually were
I know. It was so funny. It was like, I think I'll have more fun by myself. And so we had a great time though growing up with my younger brothers. And actually, the brother just after me, that same one actually, who was not a good buddy for Barbies, he's in the seminary now. So his ordination, I will happily tell the story of the time when. So it was me and my 3 brothers, and then when I was 15, my parents adopted a little girl from Vietnam. And so my little sister, Therese, is actually 13 now, which is crazy because we got her when she was a baby, so it's hard to believe that she's been with us for so long. And then shortly after that, they adopted another boy from Vietnam, but he was already 10 years old. So he's like 21 now, 22 actually. So that's my family. So it started out like your normal family, and then we got abnormal. And that's also a really big part of my story as well, of how God worked through all of that to help me to realize it's okay to be abnormal. It's okay to break the mold and not be like everybody else. So growing up, when I was growing up, my parents, we went to Mass. My parents tried to teach us the faith. I went to a Catholic school, a little bit like C's, but much smaller. And but that was it. Like, we went to Mass on Sundays, and my parents did that more out of their tradition that their own parents had taught them, and out of duty, and not really knowing why, and not really caring much about it, but they went. And so I grew up in a Catholic culture, but there was nothing in my heart of like, I love my faith, I pray, like we had like a statue of Mary, but it never meant anything to me. And I had, my kindergarten teacher was a sister, and my mom's aunt is a sister. And those were basically the two religious influences that I had in my life. And neither one of them was really very attractive to me. Like, both of them were much older, and neither wore a habit. And so, you know, and that's I mean, I'm consecrated and I don't wear any kind of a habit, so obviously it's not something that I was like, it has to be that way. But there just was no, like, click inside of me when I saw them. I'm just like, oh yeah, well, sister this or sister that, or whatever. But there was no sense of, like, that restlessness that I mentioned earlier when I would be around them. And it's something I never thought. I mean, who becomes nuns nowadays, right? Like, Sister Act, okay, like, she became a nun to get away from, to be safe, but but no, right? And so growing up, it just never crossed my mind. In fact, all I ever wanted when I was growing up was to be a mom. It was my only dream, my only desire, my only interest. I didn't even care about being a teacher, a nurse, a lawyer, a doctor, anything, any career, really, a graphic designer, a computer engineer, nothing. Like, I love life, I love people, I love doing things, but there was nothing, no career path that, you know, really interested me, which, I don't know, I look back and I think, well, that's kind of weird, because especially in our culture now, it's all about what do you want to be, what do you want to do. And all I wanted was to be a mom. I love kids, I love babies, and I mean, I was so lucky actually tonight before coming here. I was glad that things started a little bit later, because I just stopped by a friend's house that I know from when I used to work in Phoenix, and she just had her 4th little baby, and he's 1 month old tomorrow. And I have baby drool like down my arm from holding him tonight. And I mean, for me, that, jumping way, way ahead of my story, that's proof that when God calls you to give up something that you love so much, He'll always give you many, many opportunities to still, like, reach that fulfillment. You know, like, I gave up children of my own, yet God gives me so many opportunities to be with them, and He's let them draw me. And then I don't have to, like, wake up in the middle of the night and kind of get off easy in that sense, as much as I would be willing to. But so yeah, growing up, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to be a mom and have a family, and that was just a wonderful dream. And many people would tell me how good it was, and how noble it was, and they would congratulate me. It's not like I was, like, going around telling everybody, like, this is my dream and this is what I want. But it was when people would ask me and I would tell them, they'd say, wow, because most girls your age are thinking of more of themselves and more of the career that they want to follow, and think, well, I'll have kids later, you know, like, I'll settle down after I live my life, you know. And so, so I had that fixed in my mind, and that's something about me as a person, and that's something that is very important in vocational discernment, is that you get to know yourself and how you react and how you act and how you function as a person. Like, what's your personality? Not, like, super specific to the, like, to the personality description if you take a test on the internet or something like that. I mean, that's really helpful too, but more like who are you? Are you more, do you have a strong will, or are you more sentimental? Are you more moved by emotion? Or are you really driven to serve others? Or are you more of a studious type? Or do you love to be active and do service to others? Or do you love to pray, or whatever? You know, like, it really helps to get to know yourself and to see these patterns in yourself, so that as your discernment progresses, you can see, well, what's me and what's God, and what of me is God using to bring me to His will, and what gifts did He give me to help me to discover what my ultimate vocation is. And so something that I've learned about myself over the years, and I learn about it more and more every day, is what a strong will I have. And I don't say that, like, in a bragging way of, like, I can take anything. No, more like, whatever I want, I will do whatever it takes to get it. And there's a good side of that, because it means that I'm a fighter and I don't give up. And I mean, Elizabeth is a witness of, like, this summer we put on a summer camp with the Challenge Girls. That's one of the main ministries that I do is the Challenge Club. We put on a summer camp that has never been done here in Dallas. It was the first year that we ever did it, and it was hard, and we had some problems. I mean, it wasn't easy, but when I got here a year ago, I said, we're having a camp. We cannot have all these wonderful girls in the Challenge Club throughout the year and not have a camp for them to go to. We're not, this is not going to happen. So we had a camp because Carrie wouldn't give up the drink. You know what I mean? So sometimes God uses it for good. But what happened in my case, as I was growing up, and as the idea of vocation started to get into my mind and my heart, it was like, oh no, I don't want that. So I will do whatever it takes to get away from it. Thank God I didn't, like, there would be one thing that I could have done to get away from a vocation. That would have been to just totally waste my life of grace and get away from God completely and just fall into sin, and to the point that maybe I wouldn't be able to follow vocation. Thank God that that wasn't what happened. It was just more like me being stubborn and obstinate and hard-headed and no thank you. That's kind of what happened. So as I was growing up, my parents, like when I was 11 or 12, my parents went on a retreat that they'd never been on a retreat before, ever in their lives. Of course, neither had I. And God really, really touched their hearts and really asked them for a conversion of heart. You know, they're already practicing the Catholic faith, but to really say, okay, we're going to put God first in our lives, and we're going to follow the teachings of the church, and we're going to make some sacrifices, and we're going to go against the grain or against the current of our culture. And so, I mean, it's nice for my parents to have that happen to them. It's like, fine, whatever. But when you're the kid of that family who's living a normal life, all of a sudden have to start doing weird things, it's not cool. And when you have this, like, this will, like I do, it's just like, absolutely not. Like, starting to do things like, I mean, maybe they sound like a big deal to you, and maybe they're like, whatever, who cares? You know, but for me, it was like everything. So, first of all, they started teaching us our religious ed at home, because, classic example, I went to, it was right towards the time I was going to confirmation, and the teacher said, well, I mean, one of the kids asked, like, do we really have to go to Mass every Sunday? And the teacher's like, well, I mean, I missed Mass this past Sunday because I just wasn't able to get there. It's okay, you don't have to go, you know? And I'm like, I don't think that's right, you know? My parents, when they found out about that, they're like, it wasn't just because of that one occasion, but on several occasions, they had started to see, okay, our kids are not getting what they need from religious ed, and I hope and pray that that parish, you know, has been able to get to that, because most kids are being catechized in that way. My parents are like, we're going to teach you at home. So we started having family religious education. We'd have to like read the Sunday readings for like what they read at Mass and talk about them. Oh, like, yes, like how weird can you be? Like, please, yeah. You're awesome, Chris. No, like how weird can you be? I would pray that my friends, like, I wouldn't invite them over on Saturday nights for a sleepover, so they wouldn't have to go through the like Sunday morning thing. Or like, God forbid, a cousin would be over and we'd have to talk about, like, because our cousins were like much more worldly and didn't do anything like that. So it sounds awesome if you're a person who loves your faith and wants to talk about it. But with your family, with your brothers, like pretending to like hear the gospel and try to say something about it, no, it was just whatever. So that was the first. I like to think of them, like the word that I like to use when I think of my teenage years is weird. Just everything was weird, and I hated being weird, and we were always weird, and that's weird, and so it was that, and then the next year we decided that we needed to be homeschooled. Oh, like weird, you know? Like,
that makes me feel great.
Well, but I can say it because I was homeschooled. You know, it's okay. You can recognize it. Like, I was like, no, I don't want to. Like, that's weird. It's not a criticism. It's just.
I know.
When you okay. I'm like, oh, so there was that. And then, oh my gosh, of all the weird things the parents could do, they decided to adopt a little baby. Like, how weird. Because, okay, I'm 15, my youngest brother is 9, okay? What kind of family has a 9-year gap between kids? That's weird, right? I mean, this is me as a 15-year-old girl just judging everything according to what I thought was right and what I thought was normal, and I didn't want to stand out in society, because for those of you who are teenage girls especially, you know how important it is to feel accepted and to feel like you fit in. Unless you have the great gift of being a total, whatever that rainbow fish is from that cute book the kids love, where you don't mind being the different one, you know? But for me, and I have some self-confidence and security that comes from my willpower, but at that point in my life, it was just like, oh, like this is so uncomfortable. And I'll tell you why. I thought about it and I prayed about it and I realized I think one of the main reasons that I was so uncomfortable with it is because I didn't have faith growing in my heart. My parents did. You know, they had had this experience. They were learning about their faith and they were so convicted of what they were doing. But I was just like, I don't like this. Like, we were praying the rosary more and more, like not just one decade every once in a while, but like the whole rosary. And then we would like, when we started being homeschooled, my mom would start taking us to daily mass. And like one day a week seemed like more, like you don't have to go every day. You only have to go on Sundays. Why would you want to go more than once a week, right? And all of a sudden we were going so often. So I'm starting to see why I have so much respect for you guys, because like, it was like so like, and so, all of a sudden my life had changed so much, but I didn't love it. I didn't love what my parents were doing. And my brothers were younger, and they just went with it. They were much less, like, fazed by what my parents were asking them to do. So, I was really against it. And God is so good, because at that time where I was just like, I roll my eyes a lot. I still have that habit, and it's really bad, because when
But you don't wear habits.
Come on. I still have that tendency to roll my eyes because it just started when I was a teenager. I think I did it so much, so it just like stuck. But God is so good because He saw that I needed Him in my heart if I was going to continue on that path. And it was exactly at that time that I met the consecrated women of Regnum, Christi, which I'm one of them now, just in case you didn't know that. And I went on my first summer camp, and that may also be one of the reasons why I was so determined to have a camp here this summer, because I'm like, that was my first experience of Christ, my first real personal experience of Jesus, and I was 14. And there was something about these consecrated women that was just so different than any other Catholic that I had ever known in my life. They were young. They were, well, we're not all young, but the ones that I met were young. And at that time, especially 10 years ago, people were younger. And the ones that I know now. And they were joyful. I mean, there was like a real joy that I could see in their eyes. And they were always smiling. They were fun. I mean, one consecrated, the one that really marked my life, she plays the drums. Like, she trained for the Olympics. She didn't actually go, but she trained to be a runner for the Olympics. Like, normal people who you can talk about normal stuff with, and they're not like, or, you know, or you feel comfortable talking about normal stuff. I think really many sisters and many nuns are much more normal than we tend to think of it, and priests too. But, you know, for me as a woman, I would always think of that. And I just felt so comfortable with that. And then at the camp, I started to hear how they would pray, because what we do is a lot of times, like, well, for morning prayers, the consecrated will lead a prayer, but not just like say prayers, but lead a prayer to help teach the girls how to pray, you know, talking to Jesus as a friend. And then after receiving communion, we'd all sit down in silence, and then the consecrated would start a quiet but really, really natural conversation with Jesus out loud to help us to appreciate the gift that we had just received in communion. So you're not just like watching the fly around, or watching the girl who has like this nervous tick and just can't sit still, or, you know, thinking about what we're going to do next at camp. But it was really, like, for me, it was the first time that I learned how to pray, and that I discovered that Jesus was a person who loved me and cared about me and who I could, you know, relate to. And that just changed everything in my life. Everything. I was the happiest kid after that camp. And, like, I think the best part about it was that the other girls at that camp, their families were weird, too. You know, so all of a sudden it wasn't so weird to be weird. There was other girls who, I mean, they went to all different types of schools, whether it be Catholic schools, public schools, homeschool, you know, anything. They were all from different backgrounds, yet Jesus was number one in their lives, and they were trying to live a virtuous life, and they had something in common, which was this thing called ECYD, which was what I was able to be a part of. It's what we offer for Catholic teenagers. And I was just like, this is amazing. So I went, that same summer, I went to Steubenville for a weekend youth conference, and that was amazing because then I had totally, like, girls camp versus high school youth conference. And that was a totally different experience of the love of God, where it was like, it's a much more charismatic style of worship, which you guys probably experienced at Youth 2000 even at Camp Fort Worth, the things where there's singing and people praying in tongues and the Eucharistic adoration and amazing conferences and everything. And God just worked his way in my heart like really fast that summer and just gave me like a meaning for what I had to do as a member of my camp because my parents were asking. And all of a sudden I was like, I think I like this. But I didn't want my parents to know that I was like changing, but I'm sure that they saw it. In fact, I have a photo of me and my best friend after our weekend in Steubenville, and still, when I look at it now, I'm like, who are those girls? Because we were glowing with the love of God. I mean, not like aliens or anything, but we were so happy and so peaceful after our experience with Christ that weekend that, like, I still look at that picture and I'm like, wow, it's real, you know? So, as I went through high school, my faith was growing, and I was going to as many things as I could with the consecrated women. I went on a mission trip to Mexico. Not before this is dangerous. I went on a pilgrimage to Rome for the Jubilee year in 2000, where like it was all Catholics were encouraged to try to get to Rome somehow because it was a really special year. And I was able to see the Pope, Pope John Paul II, a hero. My first time seeing him was you guys like, oh, he's your confirmation guy, yeah, okay. I went to St. Louis, Missouri when I was 15 because the Pope stopped in St. Louis for 36 hours, like not even 2 days. He greeted Bill Clinton, who was the president, and we were like, look at us, look at us. And I mean, I can tell you guys so many stories, and that's why, you know, I kind of warned Randall, and I can talk a lot, so I'm trying to be myself, but one special one, especially because of the John Paul II. That's, I mean, more special for me because I don't think you're about six, but, well, he doesn't have to be mine. But, yeah. We went to St. Louis for the Pope's visit. He was there for 36 hours, okay? That's a day and a half. Were you there? Do you remember it happening?
My parents were there.
Really? Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I thought that occurred.
Did it have happened? Okay, yeah. It was 1999.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, you were probably like 5.
Was I really?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy to think. Wow. Well, we took with the consecrated, created a convention for girls. A convention like a get-together or a retreat, but it was the entire week. So you had to miss school. This is back 10 years ago where you could do that and it wouldn't be like the end of the world, you know? And so, I mean, not everybody could, but especially when you're homeschooled, you can do that kind of stuff, right? So I went with my friend. My best friend got chickenpox the day before we were supposed to go. She was 14, okay? When you get chickenpox at that age, you are miserable. A chicken, yeah. She was so miserable. She had to miss the whole thing. So I went with a different girl, and it was awesome. And so we had an entire week of a convention where we were learning about the Pope, learning about the church, doing like street missions, going around talking to people about the Pope coming, and then we got to see him at the end and go to mass with him, which was with like a million other people, but we felt like it was just him. So one night, he arrived in the evening and then was there all the next day, something like that. And that evening, Mariana, the consecrated that I'll always remember my whole life, and I still am very close to, she comes to me and my friend, and she's like, someone just gave me 20 tickets to go to the youth rally that's at the St. Louis Heel Center, which is where the St. Louis Blues hockey team plays. And so they made this into like a huge conference center. And she's like, I just got 20 tickets. Not everybody can go, but I thought I would invite you guys. So we were like, whoa! So we get there and we come in, and my favorite singer, Rebecca St. James.
Oh, gosh.
You were so serious?
Yes, I do. Oh, my gosh.
Do you like her? Her
I
music?
I just met her. That's it.
You did? Really?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Well, when I was in high school, is when it was like the peak of her career.
She comes here a lot and gives like
Really?
classes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, next time she comes, tell me. And so I walk in, and Rebecca St. James is on stage singing at a Catholic event. Like, how cool is that? She's like a Baptist. And so,
Really?
yeah,
She's not-
yeah, she's not Catholic. And so I'm like, this is amazing. But there was not a single seat for us in the entire place. Because we got there like at the very end. Someone gave me these tickets for the extra. So I was like, great. So we see the Pope and we got this thing. And so we kind of sat on the steps, and we sat wherever we could find a spot. And partway through the audience, I mean, the Pope comes in and she's like, oh my gosh, it's the Pope there. But towards the end of the, whatever it is, my favorite words. Towards the end of the ceremony, because it was just like he gave a talk and it was neat. A bunch of cardinals and bishops had been seated all together, like really close down by the Pope and not on the stage. They got up and left because they had to get ready to leave with the Holy Father when they would come. And all these seats were open, and my friends and I are like, we're going there. So we got down like as close as you could be in a seat to where the Pope was, so that I was as close as we are from them over there. And I could see the Pope, and I could see his face, and they gave him a hockey. I love hockey because in Michigan it's like a little sport, it's cold up there. So they gave him a hockey jersey and a stick and everything. And then he's like, oh, he starts leaving the stage, and he walked like if this is the stage, we're right here. He starts walking, and he was old and had a cane and everything. He starts walking and moving down the steps, and by then he's much closer to us. He's like 15 feet from us. And me and my friends start screaming at the top of our lungs, Regnum Christi loves you! Because we were part of Regnum Christi, and that was like, he knew what Regnum Christi was, the group that I'm part of. And we're like, Regnum Christi loves you! And the Pope looks up at us, okay? I'm not telling a lie, I have a picture for it. It's not right. He looks at us, and each one of us, I mean, I honestly can remember his eyes, and I can remember feeling like the Pope is looking at me. He looks at us, and he's holding his cane, and he shakes it like this, like up in the air, gives it to us, and then walks down the steps. It was like an incredible moment. And that night as well, there was, they did like a kind of a liturgical ceremony that it wasn't mass, but they did some readings and then the Pope gave a homily. And the psalm that they used was the one, I think Psalm 45. Here I am, Lord, I come to do your will. And that, the way that they sang it has stayed in my mind and my heart ever since that day, which now it's like 13 years ago. And whenever I hear it sung, it just brings me back to that moment. And it was like God planting a seed of my vocation at that moment. Like, I had never thought of saying to God, here I am to do your will. Remember I said I have a strong will to do what I want to do? Yeah. So that, it was so beautifully sung. It was teens. It was like high school kids that they would, take turns singing parts of the song, but it wasn't like a concert. It was a prayer. And being on the Holy Father who inspired me so much. And I actually recently went to look back at the text of what he said that night because I couldn't remember because I was like seat hopping the whole time, not really listening. And he spoke a lot about the courage to follow Christ and vocation. And I'm just like, why did God put me there? Like, some person on the street gave the consecrated tickets, asked whoever she found first, and I got in, and God brought me down to the front, like as close as I could get to be close to the Holy Father, who's like my hero, as I'm sure he is for you. And I had that personal moment of encounter with him, and it all happened that night. Like, how cool is that? So, like I said, all throughout my high school years, I had amazing experiences within Regnum Christi and with the student-built conferences. Like, I really believe that God used praise and worship music and the charismatic style of prayer, which is more external and uses more your body and you sing, and it's a little bit more like dramatic than just like playing with it. God used that to help me discover Him, and I still love praise and worship. I still love to pray in that way at times because it was my way of discovering Christ. And sometimes when I'm in prayer and I'm just like, I don't know what to talk to Him about or whatever, I just sing the song and I pray the song, And this summer I had the great opportunity to go to California for vacation with the other consecrated from my community. We got in the cars and drove from here to the beach, 3 days of driving. And it was incredible because some of want to say anything or talk to God and wonder anything, you can just be there by yourself with him. So, so I really go back to that a lot, those experiences of Christ that I had in those settings. And what's so neat is that now in the church, that's so much more common in parishes. Like, you have youth night, you have on your retreats, you have those kind of things. You don't have to go to a big conference to have that experience, because the church has, the young church, like the church, like the youth ministry in the church has just developed so much in the past like 10 years that you guys have the opportunity to have that so much more often. You don't have to wait for it for once a year, you know? Like there's those special things that you can go to, like 2000 or Sugal or those types of conferences. But you can have that so much more frequently that can like really nourish your faith. So where does that tie in my vocation? Well, I mean, the JP2 thing was really awesome and it helped a lot, but I was terrified of a vocation. I was like, I like the consecrated, I'll visit them, I'll hang out with them, I'll help them with anything that they need. I became what we call a team leader for the Challenge Club, which means like as a high schooler, I was working with middle school girls and talking to them about their faith and everything. I loved it. But me, consecrated, absolutely not. Never. Never say never. Because I was just so, like, I loved them, and I thought they were awesome, but I had no desire to be one of them. I was like, no, I have my plans, and in fact, I will have 10 children, and all but one of them can be consecrated for all I care, but not me. You know, like, it was just so, like, oh, be careful if you're like me, because you will be eating your words later. And so, yeah, as a teenager, I never opened it up. I remember being at Steubenville, as I shared with you at the beginning, like they said, if anyone feels called to a religious vocation and you want us to pray over you and pray for you, then please come forward. And I was like, I mean, especially because the kid that I had like the biggest crush on was like there with me at the conference, and I'm like, there is no way I'm walking away from him, you know? And so, yeah, it was like, yeah. So,